I wonder if it's visible. Wednesday, week 3. Still in the ethics part of the course outline. This one today is gonna be, I don't think it'll be as long as the other one last time. So now let me start with some ideas about what, this is the ILO again. What is the ILO and what are they trying to achieve? Of course, they're interested in eliminating food insecurity. They would like to end poverty or lower poverty rates. They're interested in the general overall health increase. That means clean water, clean air, clean water, and infrastructure, education, gender equality. Gender equality is directly correlated to increase in wealth for nations. So the more equal genders are, the better countries tend to do economically. Clean water again, which is connected to health and well-being. Eventually, energy, clean energy, which of course is related to climate action, which maybe should be, well, it's the environment, it's the International Labor Organization, so they're interested in this, but it's not their main focus. Decent work and economic growth, so they're trying to say, like, just because companies have to pay more, it doesn't mean that the businesses' profits will go down to the point where it's going to affect economic growth. In fact, it's always better to give money to people who will spend it than it is to give to companies that may or may not spend it, may or may not reinvest it. So if you're a government and you say, okay, you invested in your company, we're going to give you some tax breaks for that. We'll help you with that because you invested the money, but we don't want to just give you, during the pandemic, for example, they just gave money to companies straightforward without asking them what they're going to spend it on. So knowing what kind of investment is probably more important for economic growth than it is having people get higher salaries. People who get more money, who are economically getting out of poverty, spend everything they have. They don't save much. So that money goes back into the economy and creates demand and creates growth. They want to say they're committed to innovation and infrastructure. Not sure how they do that. They must have some policies. Of course, reducing inequality means taking on the big companies. Sustainability, obviously connected to affordable clean energy, obviously connected to climate action, but also in a community form, building communities. I think that's something that can replace unions. The union was very powerful in the 20th century. Unions almost fought up to the level of management for their rights. When we think about weekends, we think about unions. When we think about 40-hour work weeks, when we think about vacation time, pretty much all the benefits that we get are the result of unions. Otherwise, the companies would just, they wouldn't just decide to give up anything on their own. Responsible consumption, so on the consumer side, they want to build awareness of which companies are exploiting workers. Climate action, sea, climate, life below water, try to eliminate waste, life on land, try to protect the soil. Peace and justice, strong institutions. So that's basically saying that they support, laws being enforced. Anti-corruption, that's what that is. Partnerships, develop partnerships, always a good idea. I'm in the book on page 99. Globalization has provided opportunities for many countries, but it also has led to increased inequality and a growing gap between the world's richest and poorest nations. That's a way of saying that inequality is the global, unregulated, capitalist, multinational system has led to a consolidation of power of certain big companies that have achieved economies of scale, that have not had any competitors to deal with because they can squash them immediately. It can create political roadblocks to them being able to get going. So there has been growing inequality, even though the bottom of the lowest levels of poverty have come up. The middle class is the one that's kind of not moving. It's kind of stuck in, it's not, the rich are getting much richer, the poorest people are getting out of poverty slowly, come from the government, which is what this plastic initiative is trying to do. Hopefully companies get better at packaging. Sometimes there's efficiencies that we find in packaging that work better, that actually create less waste. Coca-Cola cans are much lighter than they used to be. They use about half the aluminum, which is pretty good. Companies can manage sustainability proactively in their supply chain. For example, by ensuring that they do not import or retail timber or other things that have been illegally or made with slave labor harvested. Companies can make a commitment to sustainability by demanding that their suppliers are sustainable. So that means that your middle management needs to be pretty strong in order to make the argument that they don't choose the cheapest thing all the time, right? That they also choose what is ethically sourced and the cheapest they can find. So this is actually maybe an interesting development, because it means that there is a role for middle managers, right? They're used to top managers, they're the Steve Jobs, they're the vision, the long-term vision. The implementation of the vision is like middle-term, middle managers, and the day-to-day operation, short-term KPIs are set for the frontline workers of organization. So now, and then the leadership would be part of the vision and the productivity, right? It's mostly like that. But maybe there is a leadership role for middle managers that comes out of this, since they really need to be the ones to be choosing ethical suppliers, to be making ethical resource decisions. Because resource decisions used to be just like, okay, how much capital do we have? How much labor? How much do we put it here, do this, produce this, separate, allocate, and then produce. But now it's like a whole nother level where the middle managers who used to be just pushing pencils around now need to have some ethical decision-making power, which could be good, because it's if you just, the more people that are in the organization who recognize that there are ethics involved in the choices that the company makes, the better it's going to be. So that might change. Part of the next section where we talk about leadership versus management, that definitely might mean that middle managers are starting to get more into the leadership aspect of management. Do I want to do one more thing today? Maybe. So they have awards for this kind of thing, which is also like the PR, environmentally and friendly and sustainable companies. Always surprising to me how they're going to measure this.
Hey y'all, Corey here from Grow Ensemble, and in this video, you're going to learn about 7 of the world's most environmentally friendly and sustainable companies. One of these companies has gone even so far as to set the bold and ambitious goal to plant 1 billion trees across the globe by the year 2030. Coming up, you're going to learn exactly who that company is, as well as get 6 other examples of sustainable brands who are truly in business to save our home planet. Let's dive in. So first, we have Tentree. As Tentree's CEO, Derek Emsley, told me on our podcast, Tentree is a tree planting company that just so happens to as well sell apparel. Since their founding in 2012, Tentree has already planted over 50 million trees. And as mentioned in the top of this video, they've as well set the ambitious goal of planting 1 billion trees all across the globe by the year 2030. Tentree selectively chooses to partner with charitable organizations to execute on these tree planting programs. And they've made a commitment themselves to regularly visit the sites of these tree planting projects to make sure that the local communities in which they're taking place are benefiting in a variety of ways, economically as well as environmentally. As a result of Tentree's practices and commitments to transparency, millions of trees have been successfully planted in countries all across the world, spanning Canada, Indonesia, Senegal, Peru, Madagascar, and many more. And of course, Tentree is committed to sustainably producing their apparel line. They're wanting to push the standards of the fashion industry by using sustainable materials like organic cotton, hemp, recycled polyester, and tencel. And yes, you may have put it together already with their name, but Tentree plants 10 trees for every item purchased through their store so that they can make everyday change more accessible to all of us. Second on our list, we have Patagonia, but we may not have been surprised by this one. For their nearly 50 years in business, Patagonia has been on the cutting edge of what it means to be a sustainable and environmentally friendly company. And as Patagonia proudly and explicitly states, they are in business to save our home planet. For the last 35 years, Patagonia has pledged 1% of their total sales to the conservation of our natural environment. And it was this practice that led Yvonne Chenault, Grow Ensemble are a part of. So other businesses too can make this meaningful tell us here at Grow Ensemble are a part of. So other businesses too can make this